Alright guys, with all Rossler here, and I'm back today, another video. As I said, I'm on summer break at the minute, so I'm going to try and do a bunch of videos, a bunch of blog posts, stuff like that. I'm back today with a very special video. I'm going to be showing you my Blu-ray collection. I've got all my Blu-rays here. I do want to say two things first. Firstly, the Platinum Log 2022 video that I released last week, I do want to apologise for the audio quality and the picture quality. I didn't realise, I actually filmed that on another laptop and I didn't realise the audio quality wouldn't be as good as this one, oddly. So I'm back to the usual ones, hopefully the audio should be much better. Secondly, the lighting, I cannot do anything about the light. I cannot do anything about the sun, unfortunately. So I am going to have to put up with it. But I am ready, I've been looking forward to doing this for quite a while. I've been collecting a lot of Blu-rays this year. I should really go for a few game collections as well. I'm wanting to do that because there's a bunch of game collections I would like to show you. There's a bunch of things I've picked up in the last, 4 years since I last did a game collection for the PS4, for example. So looking forward to doing some of that maybe some reviews or maybe like a new room tour because a few things have changed. Not everything's changed, but a few things have changed. But without further ado, I've got my drink, my Iron Brew, my favourite drink. Delicious. And I'm going to get into my Blu-ray collection. Been collecting a lot of Blu-rays for the past few months. So in my Platinum Log, there was a period where I think I stopped collecting Platinums. I think it was the end of like March or something. And then I just started collecting a bunch of Blu-rays. I've got around 50 Blu-rays here, and I'm gonna take you through them. So I think we should just stop messing about. I've had a been a rough day today. I've just finished watching Man United play Brighton in their opening day of the season, and I'd rather forget about it. So I thought, let's do this video now. So moving on, the first Blu-ray of my collection is Dr. No, 007 Dr. No, James Bond, the first James Bond film. Sorry for the glare, the glare, I can't really do anything about it. Yeah, the first James Bond film, Dr. No. I am picking these Bond films all up individually because I think it'd probably be cheaper than getting the whole Blu-ray set for 60 or 70 quid or whatever it is. And I'm finding a bunch of these at CEX, where I mostly pick up a lot of the Blu-ray stuff you'll see here, for pretty cheap, 2-3 quid, nothing massive. I'm mainly picking up the ones I enjoy, and then I'll pick up the other ones kind of after, because, I'm never going to watch a certain number of them. But no, Dr. No, one of the better Sean Connery films in my eyes. I think the best Sean Connery film is probably Goldfinger, a classic. I do like From Russia with Love as well, but yeah, Goldfinger, From Russia with Love, and Dr. No, probably the best Sean Connery film. So that is first Blu-ray. It's at the beginning of my collection because I class the James Bond films as 007 films, so there'll be a bunch of them. We're going to go through, about 10 of them before we get to anything else. So yeah, Dr. No, first film of my collection. Next up, we have another Bond film, obviously. We've got On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I've got these in, order of release, the Bond films. So, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, this is the only film, Bond film starring George Lazenby. It is a good film. George Lazenby's not great, but it's a good film. I like the ending. I think there's a few parts of this film that hold up quite well. I think the Blofeld in this film is very good. It's got quite a weighty ending to it, and very memorable Bond film. One of the more memorable ones of that early period, because a lot of the Sean Connery and Roger Moore ones do kind of tend to blend together. So yeah, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Next up, these are in the wrong order, I've just noticed. Yeah, these are in the wrong order. So it should be this one next. Live and Let Die, starring Roger Moore. This is the first Roger Moore film. I think it's probably my favourite Roger Moore Bond film. I really like The Spy Who Loved Me. That one's one of my favourite films of probably pre-Daniel Craig Bond. But yeah, I do like Live and Let Die. I think it's iconic. Baron Samedi's iconic. Wings. Paul McCartney's band doing Live and Let Die, the theme song. It's an iconic film. Solitaire, who's played by Jane Seymour, I think is one of the best Bond girls. So yeah, Live and Let Die, really great. Kananga's death as well is an iconic cinema moment, one of the more iconic James Bond moments. So yeah, Live and Let Die, another great Bond film. As I said, I'm trying to pick up all the good ones first, the ones I enjoy, before I pick up some of the ones I don't enjoy, like A View to a Kill. Although A View to a Kill does have one of my favourite Bond themes. Speaking of great Bond themes, The Living Daylights. I like the Timothy Dalton James Bond films. I think they're criminally underrated. This one's not as good as License to Kill. I don't have License to Kill yet, but I do like The Living Daylights. I love the theme by Aha. I think Timothy Dalton's one of the grittiest Bonds, probably second to Daniel Craig, and he's very ruthless, and especially in License to Kill. But Living Daylights is still a very good film, and yeah, I like this film. It's one of the less memorable ones, but there are still some very good set pieces. The opening set piece is very good. Yeah, I like Living Daylights. It's one of the it's in the middle to kind of top tier of Bond films to me. Moving on, new Bond. One of the best Bond films, GoldenEye 007, the first Pierce Brosnan James Bond film. One of the best Bonds in my eyes, a classic you need to see. Of course, inspired the classic N64 game, which I've got on the shelf. A great film. Not a big fan of Natalia, the love interest for Bond, but I am a big fan of Xenia Onatopp, great Bond villain. Alec Trevelyan, played by Sean Bean, great villain. Just a great movie. There's so many great set pieces. The opening dam jump, the tank chase through the streets, the end battle over the cradle. Awesome stuff. I love GoldenEye. It's a film I actually made my mum and dad watch very recently for the first time. They weren't as big a fan of it as I was. I love this film. One of my top 5 favourite Bond films of all time. Easily. And I love Pierce Brosnan as Bond. I think his films go downhill from here. There's none of them touch this, but I still think this is a great film, and one of Pierce Brosnan's biggest career roles in GoldenEye. Next one, we've got one of my favourite films of all time, an absolute classic. My favourite Bond film, one of my favourite Bond films, one of the best action films I think ever made. I stick by that. Casino Royale. This is the spectacular 2-disc set, and I bought this just because Casino Royale is one of my favourite films of all time. I love Casino Royale. I cannot gush about this film enough. Vesper Lynd, the greatest Bond girl of all time. You Know My Name, the greatest Bond song of all time. You've got the chase sequence at the beginning of the film, the parkour chase, one of the best action sequences in Bond. You've got the plane, the airport kind of battle between Bond and the terrorist. Great stuff there. And then you've got the end of the film. Tragedy strikes just like it does in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and it's brutal and it's brilliant. And Daniel Craig is mesmerising in this film. Eva Green, brilliant in this film. And I should give a lot of credit as well. Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen, one of the best Bond villains. Le Chiffre is compelling. He's not one-dimensional. He has genuine reasons for doing the things he does. And also the best poker game in film. And one of the best Bond scenes is that final poker scene where he plays the straight flush. It's phenomenal. I love Casino Royale. The best Bond film to me. The pinnacle of James Bond films. And also, I love it so much, I also own it normally, so I don't need to talk about it again. Then we're going to move into Quantum of Solace, one of the worst James Bond films ever made. It's still got a bit of wrapping on it here. Quantum of Solace. I actually bought this from Poundland. Poundland sometimes sell Blu-rays, so if you're interested in collecting Blu-rays, sometimes just have a look. There's a lot of shovelware a lot of the time. I like this. But I needed this for my Daniel Craig Bond collection, so I just thought I'd pick it up. It was like £2. And Quantum of Solace, it's less than an hour and 50 minutes long. It's horrible, and it's almost not anyone's fault. There was a writer's strike that affected the film, and it's not got a great theme song. It's not got a great villain. Mr. White becomes more compelling in future installments in Daniel Craig's Bond films. But, yeah, not a lot good happens in Quantum of Solace. The game of Quantum of Solace is very good, actually. I have that on PS3. But yeah, not a lot of good things to say about Quantum of Solace, I'm afraid. After such a fantastic film with Casino Royale, how they went to Quantum of Solace is beyond me. But then they actually hit it out of the park again with Skyfall, another one of my favourite Bond films. A classic now, and I think in 20 years' time we'll look back at it as like a classic action movie of an era, based around a lot of explosions. And I don't prefer this to Casino Royale. Casino Royale I think is a much better film. I enjoy the music more in Casino Royale. This has got a great theme song with Adele. Her Skyfall is wonderful, and M is great in this film. Dame Judi Dench, who of course her first role as Judi Dench was in the GoldenEye, the Pierce Brosnan film, so she went all the way through the Pierce Brosnan era and into the Daniel Craig era, which is amazing. And another thing to note is Javier Bardem in this film as Raul Silva. Very good villain, very justified, or at least has some justification for what he's doing, which is why I liked the Daniel Craig villains more. They're not just terrible people. So Skyfall. Next one, you guessed it. Oh, wasn't it sticky? It's the only thing about buying Blu-rays or anything from CX. The stickers are horrible. The next one is Spectre. I like Spectre. I don't love it. I just wanted to own it again for having all the Daniel Craig films. I like Christoph Waltz in the film. I don't like the plot twist the film brings in later on in it. I do like Christoph Waltz. I like Madeline Swan, but I don't love her. I like her a little bit more in the sequel to this. And I like Dave Bautista. And, you know, Spectre is okay. It's not the worst Daniel Craig film. It's also not the best. Middle of the road. Oh, I'm already making my pile fall over. Drink. Finally, the crescendo of the Daniel Craig Bond films, No Time to Die. I went to cinema in about, I think it was about November or October last year, to watch No Time to Die. And I loved it. I thought this film was brilliant. I thought it was a bit too long, but brilliant nonetheless. The weakest part of the film to me was Rami Malek's villain, Safin. He wasn't great, especially in comparison to Silva or Moshif. But there is an interesting premise in No Time to Die. The weapon is very interesting that Safin uses. I liked Jeffrey Wright in the film as Felix Leiter again. I liked kind of Christoph Waltz coming back into the film. I liked how they wrapped up a lot of James Bond lore in this film. They wrapped up kind of Spectre and Blofeld and Felix Leiter. They wrapped it all up very nicely. They wrapped up James Bond. Brilliant ending to the film in my eyes. Really, really nice ending. A lot of great callbacks to like On Her Majesty's Secret Service and other films. A lot of great callbacks to James Bond as a whole. So big fan of No Time to Die. It's probably my second favourite Daniel Craig Bond film. Probably the third best, but probably my second favourite. I really like it. It's just a bit long. And there's a few films in this collection that I'll say I like it. It's just a bit long. One of them I think will be coming up. This is amazing. This is still sealed. So a friend of mine a few years ago bought me Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 on Blu-ray. I still have it sealed. I have no reason to open it because obviously I have Disney Plus, so if I was going to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I would just watch it on there. But yeah, it's nice still to have. I really liked the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I didn't quite keep up with it after about Season 3. So it's hard when there's so much to watch and you've only got a certain amount of time, especially when I went to uni. I just lost TV, so I didn't get a chance to watch as many things. But I still liked the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Moving on, we've got my first... Oh, no, we haven't. We've got a classic, well, a film I think will be regarded as a classic in 10, 20, 30 years. American Hustle. This is a... Oh, what's the director called? I should know. I'll get it later on because I've got another film by this director. American Hustle. I love this film. I think it's a very complicated plot and it's a bit hard to follow at times, But Christian Bale in this film is brilliant. He is completely different. Considering a year earlier he was Bruce Wayne in Dark Knight Rises, he is completely transformed in this film. Bradley Cooper's really funny in this film. Jennifer Lawrence is probably the funniest she's ever been in this film. And I'll be talking about those two later on in another film. But yeah, really big fan of American Hustle. I think it's one of Amy Adams' best performances of her career too. So really big fan of this film. Jeremy Renner's also good in it. It's a very complicated plot, and if you kind of aren't paying attention, you're going to lose a lot of kind of the minutiae of the film. But it's a very, very good film, a very good screenplay, and Robert De Niro also has a tiny little role in this film. It is very, very good. So yeah, American Hustle, great film, just a little bit complicated sometimes. Now we have my first steelbook of my Blu-rays, and it is Avatar. This was like £2, so I just thought I'd buy it. I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Avatar. I like it. I think it looks beautiful, but I think it's a bit bland and a bit boring and a bit samey. Like it's not that, you know, innovative with its narrative or its characters or where they go and how the arcs end up. It's fine. The story's fine. You're here for the visuals, and the visuals are brilliant. And I should probably give the film a rewatch because I haven't watched it in a few years. But yeah, Avatar, first steelbook of my collection. Next thing we're moving on to is the most recent release, I believe, in my collection, The Batman. I liked this. Me and my fiance watched this a few weeks ago. I didn't go to cinema to watch it. We watched this a few weeks ago. I finished it and I went, you know what? It's really good. Really liked Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Really liked. I should know. I should really know. But yeah, I really like Colin Farrell as the Penguin. I really like Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, especially as Batman. More importantly, I really liked him as Batman. I just thought the film was a bit long, and it just kept going on and on and on and on. Like the villain, I think the villain's very good. I don't really like the new design of the outfit for the villain, but neither here nor there. But I like the film, and I'm very happy to see them kind of doing a sequel, doing a little bit of a universe with it. So yeah, I liked the Batman. I liked the Batman. It was just a bit long. Next film, another steelbook, another Batman film, Batman Ninja. I really liked Batman Ninja. I thought this was a clever kind of DCU movie, a little bit silly, but I really liked it. I really like the characters. I really like how Batman is and how the universe is just so cool and interesting. It's a great steelbook. Really like the art design as well. These DCU movies, you'll see a bunch of them. This is one of my preferred ones. So yeah, Batman Ninja, really nice steelbook. Really like that. Bought that a few years ago for my birthday. Next film is one of my favourite 80s films. One of the new HMV Universal Pictures iconic moments, and this is the one for 1985. It is The Breakfast Club. This is still sealed. I love The Breakfast Club. It is a terrific... I haven't seen the cover. Oh, it's just the classic cover. Terrific movie. Terrific kind of time capsule for the 80s and kids in school and what they get up to and all the different kind of stereotypes that there are in school, and that's fine. It's a short movie, you know, you get it done in an hour and a half, and it's just wonderful. The dialogue, Emilio Estevez is great. John Bender is such a funny character. It's almost like a comedy in so many scenes. There's great scenes where they smoke like weed, and it's just a great film, really great film. And again, kind of like one of my favourite films of the 1980s. There were very few films like this that kind of take children, put them in the main starring roles, and kind of put it around them. There's a few films in the 80s, there's like Stand By Me and The Goonies and stuff like that, but I think Breakfast Club is right up there as one of the best kind of school-based films in the history of cinema. So yeah, Breakfast Club, one of my favourite films. Next up, we've got a film I remember watching in history class back at A-level. And the cast is just phenomenal. And it's The Butler. Cecil Gaines is the butler, inspired by the true story. So the cast for this film, basically, it's just about a butler who goes through eras of the White House and goes through presidents in the White House, and it's based on the true story. And there's Alan Rickman is Ronald Reagan. You've got Liev Schreiber, who's I believe Lyndon B. Johnson. Just a terrific cast, and starred by Forrest Whitaker and Whoopi Goldberg, I believe. Whoopi Goldberg is in it. I should know. I should really know. Robin Williams is also, I think he's Eisenhower. Yeah, I think so. I think it was one of Robin Williams' last roles as well before he passed away. Oprah Winfrey, not Whoopi Goldberg. Oprah Winfrey is Cecil Gaines' wife, and it's also about his son, who is David Oyelowo, who would go on to play Martin Luther King in Selma, another great film I'd really like to get on Blu-ray. And yeah, it's a terrific film. I wish it got a bit more acclaim. It's not quite got the acclaim I think it deserves, but it's still a very, very good film. And I recommend you watch it. Just a great kind of history lesson of presidents of the United States and their stances on African American civil rights and the wars, Vietnam and stuff like that. Very interesting kind of history lesson for a lot of people. Very good film there. Next film is one of my favourite MCU film, Captain America Civil War. Love this film. Love the airport scene. Love the battle with Cap and Iron Man. I love the plot. I love the way they turned Captain America on his head and made him the rogue kind of just a rogue. He went rogue. There you go. Love Iron Man in this film. I love the introduction of Spider-Man, Black Panther. Rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. My favourite MCU film. I just love rewatching it. It's one of when we go through the MCU or we go through the big films in the MCU, it's the one I look forward to seeing the most, to be honest. Nearly through the first pile now. Got 2 more films, and these 2 go together anyway, and it's Creed 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. I've shown this on my channel before, I've talked about it before I believe, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. I just think Creed 1 is probably the second best film in the Rocky franchise, and Creed 2's up there, I think. I think, as I said, when I originally bought it, it does the best it can with what Rocky IV's narrative is. So yeah, really like these films, especially the first one. Moving on to the second pile now. So, let's take a quick breather. Switchblade Jay White shirt today. Just have a look at the G1 results earlier. Saw Jonah beat Kazuchika Okada, which is quite a shock. Right. Okay, second pile. Okay, so we're only on these. It's because of all the James Bond films. Alright, deep breath. Here we go. So, the next Blu-ray we're going to touch on is Dead Space Downfall. Haven't seen this yet. I ordered this from CX when I ordered Dead Space 2 because I couldn't find any copies in my CX. Just ordered this on top of it because I really liked the first game and I just wanted to see how the animated films held up, because the animated films of Resident Evil are really good. Really enjoy them, and you'll see one later. So I just wanted to see how this was. I haven't seen it yet. I look forward to watching it at some point now. I think my dad, who really likes the animated Resident Evil films, would quite like that. So have to get him to watch that with me. Deepwater Horizon. I went to cinema actually in 2016 when this came out and watched this in cinema. Was very much looking forward to it. Really enjoyed it. I thought John Malkovich and Kurt Russell were really good, and the actual whole oil rig explosion, whole film basically. A lot of the film is the oil rig explosion, and it's wonderful. It's gripping and brutal. As it says, terrifically tense and exciting, and it is exciting in a very weird way. It's a film I'd recommend a lot of people watch. Again, it's one of those very kind of niche stories not a lot of people will know about. A bit like Cecil Gaines, The Butler. One of those niche stories not a lot of people will know about, but when you hear about it, you look into it, you look about what happened and why it happened. It's a fascinating story, and I think it's sometimes very sad that we find so much interest in tragedy, but it's the way it works. And Titanic, one of the most successful films of all time, is a tragedy. And Deepwater Horizon is kind of in a similar vein. It's a tragedy that we find very interesting. So yeah, very good film now. Really like it. Next film. Oh, another film based on, inspired by true events. Dog Day Afternoon. I really like this film. It's a very famous 1970s film, starring Al Pacino and John Cazale. Really like this film. Al Pacino in this film is perhaps even better than he is in the Godfather films. It's just terrific. I mean, it's not very long. It's only just over 2 hours, and it just is almost a dark comedy in a way. Like, it's just very funny, and there's the Attica scene. You know, it's great fun. And I haven't seen it in a few years, so I probably should. But yeah, really like Dog Day Afternoon, and maybe I'll get my fiance to watch it because I don't think she's ever seen one. She's definitely never seen it. She's never seen a lot of these films. Might be a good shout. Next film, Don John. I really like Don John. I know I'm saying that for a lot of these films, but I really like Don John. 90-minute film, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, written and directed by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. His debut film, and the script is so good. Don John is such a clever, witty film. He's funny. Scarlett Johansson's very good in this film. Bit more of a mature role for her, but she's very good. And Julianne Moore, probably my favourite part of the film. Julianne Moore is great in this film. Very funny, very witty, and also very tragic. And it's a very kind of, on the surface, a very silly film about a man who's addicted to pornography. But what it becomes is a film about a man whose addictions kind of take over his life, and how it's also a film about how relationships are viewed by people and how the media kind of twists how a relationship should be on both sides of the gender spectrum. So yeah, very interesting film, very kind of deep film if you actually watch it and think about it. But yeah, really like Don John, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt does a wonderful job in his directing role, his directing debut. Sorry, very good script. Next film, another film with a very, very funny script. Fighting with My Family. I would say the second best wrestling film ever made. The first one will come up later. Very funny film about the life of WWE, or former WWE superstar, Paige Saraya Jade Bevis. I went to cinema to watch this film in 2017, I think, or 2018, I think. And I really like it. I like Nick Frost. I think he's really funny in this film. I think Vince Vaughn is really good in this film. There's like a amalgamation of Bill DeMott and Sarah Amato and all these other old NXT trainers. There is a lot of inaccuracies in the story, like, you know, NXT being around, there being no FCW, Paige not winning the NXT Women's title, stuff like that. And but if you look past all that, I still think it's a very funny film and a very kind of well-written film, mostly, and a very well-performed film. I think this is Florence Pugh's coming out debut. So yeah, very funny film, really liked it. And Florence Pugh would actually go on to be Yelena Romanov, I believe, in Black Widow. So she would have a good career after that. Lena Headey as well. Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones is very good in that film. Next film, I rewatched this film the other day actually, so I've got kind of a fresh perspective on it. Gangster Squad, starring Josh Brolin, Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, Nick Nolte, and Sean Penn as Mickey Cohen. I love this era of Los Angeles. I really love LA Noir, LA Confidential, anything to do with 1940s Los Angeles and kind of the crime era of LA and kind of it becoming one of the big cities in the world. And Gangster Squad is a bit silly, and the characters are a bit one note, but I like the action scenes, I like the style, I like the comedy, because there is some comedy, and I like everyone in the film. I like Giovanni Ribisi in the film, I like Michael Pena in the film, I like Anthony Mackie in the film, I really like Josh Brolin in the film, and Sean Penn's performance is a bit wacky, a bit ridiculous, but it's fine. And it's fine with me, because Sean Penn is Sean Penn, and he can pretty much do whatever he wants. I like Gangster Squad. I know it's not a great film, but I like Gangster Squad. It's a guilty pleasure for me. Next film is a David Fincher film. It is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I've not seen any of the sequels to this, and when I originally saw the film, I was like, "Oh, Daniel Craig's in it, should be good." And it's a great film, and it's genuinely all about Rooney Mara. Like, Daniel Craig is in the film, but Rooney Mara is in the film. She steals the film. There are some amazing scenes in this film, and I don't want to talk about them, a lot of them. The ending of the film is brilliant. It's tense. It's dark. It's very gritty. It's actually one of the grittiest films I think David Fincher has done, and it's a long film, and you've got to kind of be there for the whole film and watch it and explore it and get into it. But yeah, it's a wonderful film, really great film, and the two leads do their job, especially Rooney Mara. Oh, the next film. This is one of my favourite films, like very much top 10 favourite films. Good Will Hunting. I love Good Will Hunting. I love everything about this film. I love Robin Williams in this film. There's too much to talk about. I love everything about Good Will Hunting. The script is absolutely phenomenal. There are scenes in this film that I quote daily. It's Not Your Fault is something I probably quote daily. I love everything. I think Matt Damon is wonderful. I think as, again, a first-time writer, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, who wrote the film, obviously won Best Original Screenplay. It's absolutely wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. I love Good Will Hunting. I watched it again recently, and again it was like, it spurred me to kind of like reevaluate how much I loved it. It's one of my favourite films of the 90s, maybe number 2, because it's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant film. Now we're going to move into a quick-fire trio, because these all go together, and we've got The Hunger Games, we've got The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and we've got The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. I don't have Mockingjay Part 2 yet. I've got all these for like £3 because they're like 50p each or £1 each or something like that. I really like the first Hunger Games. I thought the second one was even better. I've not read the books. And I thought that Mockingjay Part 1 and 2 were the worst films in the series very easily. Catching Fire is brilliant. Hunger Games' concept is brilliant. Catching Fire is better. Mockingjay Part 1 and 2, not a big fan of. I think it's one of Philip Seymour Hoffman's last films, though, which is a shame. But yeah, I like the Hunger Games films. I don't love them because I don't really like the last two that much. I think Jennifer Lawrence is very good in them, though, although she's sometimes a bit mean. The Hurt Locker, I like The Hurt Locker. It's like a Best Picture winner, so I saw it at 50p and I was just like, I might as well buy it. I like The Hurt Locker. I like Jeremy Renner in the film. I like how it shows his kind of dealing with not being at war. I like Anthony Mackie in the film. It's a good film that won Best Picture in 2008 and it beat Avatar, and it was a big deal. 2009, sorry. And it was a big deal, and I don't know, maybe I'm going to have to rewatch it to kind of give myself a new kind of take on it, because it's been a while since I watched it. Next up, we've got a very heavy case. Why is it so heavy? That's so heavy. But no, it's Inception. This is one of the best Christopher Nolan films. Great film, brilliant cast. Again, you want to talk about a great cast: Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ellen Page is in the film. Like it's pretty phenomenal, and the concept is wonderful. It's executed brilliantly. It's a really well shot and directed film. Yeah, brilliant. Great ending as well. Really nice ending to the film. Not seen Inception in a few years either. Invictus. I don't think I've ever seen this film. But I saw it at 50p and I was like, Matt Damon, Morgan Freeman, quality actors. I know it's about South Africa's Rugby World Cup, I believe, when Nelson Mandela was the Prime Minister. I think it is in Africa or South Africa. Yeah, I'll have to give this a watch because I've not seen this ever, I don't think. I remember trailers for that film, though, when I was younger. I think it came out in 2008. So I remember trailers for that film. One of my favourite animated films of all time, The Iron Giant. I'm currently playing a lot of Multiverses, the new Smash Bros. Clone that's free on everything. And I'm playing as Iron Giant a lot, and it just reminded me how much I love the Iron Giant. It's a wonderful film, a very great message in the film, and it's a very simple kind of story of an alien coming from outer space, but it's told so well that you don't mind it. And Brad Bird, director, wonderful director, went on to direct the Incredibles films. But this is his classic, his magnum opus to me. It's also a very funny film, and also quite a mature film. There are some double entendres every now and then. Jennifer Aniston's in the film, and I actually think she does very well in one of her only voice acting roles ever, maybe. But yeah, I really love the Iron Giant. I love the character of the Iron Giant. I love Hogarth. I love Kent Mansley, one of the best villains in any animated film. He's a brilliant villain. He's a very funny villain, and I love the Iron Giant. Absolutely adore this film. As a kid, this was like one of my favourite films, and I've grown up and I kind of grew away from it. I rewatched it, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, and then I rewatched it again quite recently, and I was just like, it's such a beautiful film. Yeah, great film. Love Iron Giant. Love it, love it, love it. Another film I love, my favourite film of the 60s, probably any film post. Probably my favourite film pre-1970, The Italian Job. I watched this film so many times as a kid, and I just loved the car scenes when I was a kid, whereas now I just love everything. I love how it's a symbol for Britain, and it's a great kind of timepiece for what Britain is, and the colours, and the vehicles, the clothes. Man, it's great. And Michael Caine was like my favourite actor when I was younger, just because he was in The Italian Job. And I remember a VHS tape I got for Christmas when I was young, and it had a trailer on it of Zulu. And I was always wanting to watch that film, but my dad would never let me when I was a kid, and I never understood why. But after watching Zulu now, at my older age, I understood why. I mean, this film's a PG, so I could watch this when I was young. But yeah, I love The Italian Job. It's one of my favourite films. I've said that about a lot of films here, but these two, Iron Giant and Italian Job, are some of my very favourite films. A few more in this pile, and then we'll go on the last pile. Oh god. Oh god. Jaws Revenge. The only Jaws film I own on Blu-ray at the minute. I'm only likely to own the first one as well. Why do I own Jaws Revenge? Because it is the funniest film I own. It is absolutely hilarious. If you've never seen Jaws the Revenge, please do. It's 90 minutes and you will not forget it. You will never forget what this film does right, which is nothing. And it's one of the worst films ever made, but my god is it funny. And I don't want to say anymore. I don't want to spoil the shark stuff. I don't want to spoil it because it's so good. And I don't want to spoil the plot, because the plot is hilarious. That's why I own Jaws of Revenge. These two I can bundle together. I've got a bunch of Justice League DC animated films. So I've got Justice League Gods and Monsters and Justice League Throne of Atlantis. This is just that period, as I said earlier, where I was getting a lot of DC animated movies. I've not seen either of these, so I probably should. And then we move on to the final pile. I assume there's probably another... Yeah, there is, yeah. Yeah, just the top one. I have seen this one though, Justice League versus Teen Titans. I like this one. I don't love it. I think it's good though. And I like the Teen Titans. I really love the Teen Titans animated show when I was younger, so anything with the Teen Titans is gold with me. I like that one. Final pile now. Let's have a drink. Look at my pop vial. I think it's falling over. Okay. Final pile. First, sorry, I lost my train of thought. First film, Kick-Ass. I love the first Kick-Ass. I keep saying this about so many films. Every film I'm going, I love that film. I need to stop doing that. I really like the first Kick-Ass. The second one, meh, I still like it, but it's not great. The first Kick-Ass is so unique. It came out in 2010, which is kind of at the beginning of the rise of the MCU, so you kind of needed an anti-superhero film. And this isn't that. this is a normal person being a superhero and kind of showing how that would do. Because in this film, Dave Lazowski gets his ass kicked as a superhero, and that's how it would be. So it's great kind of commentary on superhero culture and fans and what they expect and stuff like that. I prefer the graphic novel of both Kick-Ass 1 and Kick-Ass 2, but I do really like the first Kick-Ass film. It's very original, and there are some great scenes, like when he gets hit by the car at the beginning, or when he's fighting off all the hooligans about halfway into the film. But yeah, it's a very funny film. I really like Chris Mintz-Piazzi in these films, and I really like Nick Cage. Nick Cage kind of leans into being Nick Cage in this film, and he's just really funny. Yeah, quite stoic, but still quite funny. The next film. This is like a big film, and it's a really big deal. It's Peter Jackson's King Kong. Again, it's part of that most iconic moments in film history, and this is the one for 2005. King Kong is like a great film that's a bit long. Like, it takes an hour, I think, for King Kong to even show up, and it's got a big cast. This is also sealed currently. It's got a big cast, you know, Adrian Brody, Naomi Watts, Jack Black in a very serious role. And, you know, it is a great film, but it is very long, but it is still really well presented, and the motion capture on the ape is amazing, and the fight scenes with the dinosaurs are amazing, and, you know, it's still a great film, it's just a bit long. And it's like, in many ways, it's probably Peter Jackson's magnum opus more than Lord of the Rings, just because I feel like he had a bit more creative control with King Kong. So yeah, tempted to get some of the newer Kong films, because I've not really given them a chance. But I'm not a massive fan of the way they look, whereas that one I at least really like the way that film's presented. Next up, bit of a silly one, Lego Star Wars The Padawan Menace. I actually recorded this, I think, on Cartoon Network back in the day, and I thought this was quite funny. This guy, Ian, not Han, Ian, turn the H into an I, is very funny, and there's some very funny scenes towards the end of the film. And yeah, I've got nothing to say about it really, it's just a little silly one I bought for like £1. So films like, one thing I do need to say, films like this that I really want, I usually get from HMV. So some of my favourite films, Good Will Hunting, there's probably a few more. Find another example of something. Jaws of Revenge, Italian Job, stuff like that. I actually bought from HMV just because I want them new and kind of sealed, basically. I've already talked about that. This is another one I bought from HMV, Manchester by the Sea. One of my favourite films of the last 10 years. This is a film about very little, but it's also a film that looks so real. Discussions and dialogue in this film does not look like people reading scripts or playing characters. It looks like people in a hospital or in the woods or down the street just talking. And basically they look like conversations you'd eavesdrop on. Michelle Williams has an Oscar-worthy moment in this film. Casey Affleck won an Academy Award for this film as the starring man, and he's terrific. He is so subdued, and he doesn't really get an Oscar moment in this film, but his story is so tragic, and the way that it unfolds and the way you find out about his backstory is great. And I really like the supporting cast. I really like his surrogate child. I don't really want to spoil the plot, because if you've never seen Manchester by the Sea, please do. It's wonderful and tragic and a great film. And it's got a great ending as well. Next up, we've got Real Steel. Moving back into something a bit more silly, a bit like Gangster Squad. I know this film's not brilliant, but I really like Real Steel. I really like films that are like boxing films, like Rocky or sports films or stuff like that. And Real Steel is just a silly film about robot boxers who fight each other. And oh no, my power fell over. And about kind of robot boxers and fighting, and it's great. And I like Hugh Jackman, Evangeline Lilly's in the film, Anthony Mackie's in the film. It's cool and it's harmless entertainment, really. And I have absolutely no problem with real steel. So I noticed I need to make a new pile, so I'm going to start making a new pile right here. I'll deal with that later. Next film, Resident Evil Vendetta. I said that one of these films would turn up at some point. This is 2 discs, which I never noticed. Resident Evil Vendetta is the 3rd film in the animated Resi film saga. It has Rebecca, Leon, and Chris Redfield in it. I know I just did that the wrong way. Chris, Rebecca, Leon. And it is completely bonkers silly. Whereas Degeneration, which is the first one, was a bit more grounded and there's a bit more survival horror in it. This one is completely silly. There are so many moments towards the end of the film where my jaw is always just agape with what Leon or Chris are doing. There's a battle where the 2 of them are fighting hundreds of zombies in a corridor. It makes me laugh every time. There's a scene with Leon on a motorcycle on a highway. Makes me laugh every time. And the ending of the film also makes me laugh every time. I know it's not supposed to be funny, but I find it very funny. It's my second favourite of the animated films, behind Degeneration, but ahead of Damnation. Next film. God, Schindler's List. Just a classic film from the 90s that I probably will watch. I haven't watched it in a bit. This is not sealed though. I haven't watched it in a while, but I will probably watch it soon, and then never watch it for about 5 years. It's a film you cannot watch a lot. Let me just put these the right way. You can't watch this film like once a year or twice a year because it is so like empty and evil, and Eamon Goat is one of the most horrid characters in the film. But what there is in this film is a real joy at certain tiny points right at the end of the film. There's still tragedy in this film, there's a lot, but when you've got Oscar Schindler in that most beautiful scene where he's realising he could have sold his car or sold his pin and saved a couple more people, but there is real joy in knowing that he saved that many people anyway. And I know that the future for Oscar Schindler wasn't very bright after the events that this film shows, but my lord, this film shows what a courageous man he was during that period. Wonderful film, and it's just one of the classic kind of 1990s films, and one of the great, arguably the greatest Holocaust film ever made. My only argument would be The Pianist, but this film is about the Holocaust a bit more than one person, which is what The Pianist is about. So yeah, Schindler's List, a wonderful film, and it's a very hard film to watch too. Next up, we've got a steelbook. We've got my favourite film of all time, The Shawshank Redemption. This is a wonderful steelbook. It comes with 4 discs. I have no idea what they all do. But this is my favourite film of all time. I've said a few times now, this is one of my favourite films, Casino Royale and Good Will Hunting and stuff like that, and you'll see a few more, but this is my favourite film. It is one of the best films ever made. It's perfect. I think Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman, everyone is just perfect. The story is brilliant. The way it's adapted from Stephen King's novel is brilliant, and it's just wonderful. And it's got maybe the best ending ever in a film, like at least the most happy ending ever in a film. So yeah, I assume most people who watch this channel have probably seen The Shawshank Redemption, so I'm not going to even say you need to watch it. But if you haven't seen The Shawshank Redemption, please go and watch it. It's just one of the best films ever made. Next film, I said I'd be talking about this director at some point. I need to find his name. I should really know. David O. Russell. There you go. David O. Russell, who directed American Hustle. That rhymes. Also directed this film a year earlier with Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper, Silver Linings Playbook. I prefer this film to that film because it's a bit simpler. This film's it's a rom-com basically, but it's also a dark kind of comedy rom-com. There's some very funny scenes. Jennifer Lawrence is really good in American Hustle. I'd say she's better here, but she's funnier in that film. Bradley Cooper's great in this film. The supporting cast, Robert De Niro does absolutely wonderful in this film. And Chris Tucker in this film. Chris Tucker is really good in this film. A great film, a great story, really good direction, really good script, just a great, really funny film. Yeah, I really like this. This is my favourite, probably the best romantic comedy I've ever seen. I can't think of a romantic comedy there. So yeah, Silver Linings Playbook. Really, I keep saying that, really love that film. Speaking of films I really love, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The biggest surprise of the last few years is how good this is and how it matches or supersedes previous Spider-Man entries like Tobey Maguire's films, like Tom Holland's films. This film's wonderful. Its art style is absolutely perfect. Its comedy is so funny. Its style of introducing characters in flashy flashbacks and comic book style cutscenes and introducing all these different characters that all blend together in really funny scenes, and it leaves it open for a sequel. Just phenomenal. One of the best animated films of the last decade. It is so good. The only films that I can think of are a few Pixar films, stuff like the Lego Movie. Like, awesome. I love Into the Spider-Verse. And my fiance was a bit sceptical when I just said, should we watch Into the Spider-Verse? But after watching it, she said that was actually really, really good. So yeah, Into the Spider-Verse. We're getting to the end now, and we've got another Spider-Man film, still with the price tag on. I'll try taking it off. I'm holding the video. I'll take it off later. Spider-Man No Way Home. I really liked this film. I thought it was great. I liked how they used all the villains. I liked how they used the two previous Spider-Men. I wish Doctor Strange was in the movie a bit more. But outside of that, I think it's really great. So yeah, I've not got a lot to say about it. I assume everybody's seen No Way Home, considering how much money it made. Son of the Batman, another one of the DC movies I just bought, and I think I've seen this. Obviously, Damian Wayne is the son of the Batman, and Talia al Ghul brings in to Bruce to kind of train him. So yeah, it's a good film. I like this. It's one of my favourite. Again, one of the better DCU movies to me. Superbad. One of my favourite comedies of the last, actually just ever. I love this film. I find it really funny. I think McLovin, every scene he has with Seth Rogen and Bill Hader is really funny. I love a lot of this film. Yeah, just my favourite comedy. I can't think of anything else really. So yeah, I love Superbad. I believe my last Steelbook, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I remember watching this film at uni in second year when we were doing third year when we were doing the Cold War. We watched this whole film. I really liked it, and I found a Steelbook of this in like a charity shop very recently, and it's 2-disc. It has a DVD copy and a Blu-ray copy. But yeah, really like this film. Gary Oldman's great. It's got a great cast. Very strong cast, to be fair. You don't even realise some of these people are in the film sometimes. Yeah, really like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I've not seen the original. Would like to at some point. And we're in the last few now, so I'm not gonna put them there actually. We've got Transformers. This is the first Transformers film that came out in about 2007. I only bought this because I quite like the first one. It's silly, but I like all the action, and I like the way the Transformers look. And the comedy's not a fan, and I'm not a fan of any of the sequels, but I thought this one was alright, and I thought it's a nice thing to kind of throw on in the background if I'm doing something. Harmless film. Unbreakable. Rewatched this film recently. Didn't realise how short it was, but was so taken back by the film. I thought it was a wonderful commentary on superheroes, what they can do, what they can't do, and how they exist, how they earn their power, how they learn they've got powers. Bruce Willis is so good in this film. The scene when Bruce Willis is tracking down the kidnapper is, that whole scene from entering that house is phenomenal. Oh man, Samuel L. Jackson's great, and the ending of the film, just gets you right here. Like, it's awesome. One of the best endings of the 2000s, I'd say. Yeah, I'm not the. I'll talk about Split on Glass one day, maybe. I'll talk about Split on Glass if I add them to my Blu-ray collection at some point. Yeah. Uncharted. We went to cinema on Valentine's Day to watch this because I'm a big fan of the games, and I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was the worst video game film. I thought it set a fair, it's alright. The last half an hour of the film was the best part of the film because it just felt like an Uncharted film. Like, it was actiony, it was quite funny, it was quite witty. The action was absolutely ridiculous, but I had no problem with it because I know it's Uncharted and I know kind of where Uncharted goes. I'm not a big fan of Tom Holland as Drake. I'm not a big fan of Mark Wahlberg as Sully, but by the end of the film I thought they had a little bit of chemistry, so what are you going to do? Not a big fan of Chloe Fraser in the film, but meh. I thought it was alright, I thought it was okay, and I bought it because that's what I actually thought was okay. This is one of my favourite films, V for Vendetta. The graphic novel is my favourite graphic novel of all time, and V for Vendetta is one of the best, I would argue, one of the best translations from a graphic novel, because it changes some things, but I actually think it changes them for the better. This is a film that when it came out in 2006, so it came out after 2 terrorist attacks had happened, massive ones, 7/7 and 9/11, and it puts the terrorist in such a sympathetic light, which is challenging, and I bet a lot of reviews at the time would have slammed the film for that. Retrospectively now, this film is brilliant. It's got great action. It's not a Wachowski film in the same way The Matrixes are, because there's less action, there's more kind of story scenes. Evie Hammond's arc from beginning to end is brilliant. V's arc that he goes through from beginning to end is brilliant. The scene at the beginning of the film where V introduces himself to Evie, I memorised about 8 years ago and I've never forgotten it. And every time my dad sees me, he always says, "Can you still do it?" And I do it. I love V for Vendetta. It is wonderful. It's sealed because I haven't watched it, but I intended to watch it. I usually watch it on Bonfire Night, if nobody invites me to their parties. Getting to the end now. We got 4 left. Yeah, 4 left. Warrior. This is an MMA film about 2 brothers who enter an MMA competition and eventually end up fighting each other. And Nick Nolte in this film is terrific. I'm a big fan of Joel Edgerton in this film. Tom Hardy's a bit more subdued, doesn't really have a lot to say in the film, but Joel Edgerton and Nick Nolte do it for me. It's a very powerful film. It's got really good ending. All these films have really good endings. And yeah, I don't really have too much more to say. It's a great film that I don't think a lot of people will watch. It's very similar to The Fighter in a way, and maybe just maybe a better version. It basically says all the Rockies rolled into one. I mean, it isn't as good as Rocky, but it's the best MMA film, obviously, I'd say. Kurt Angle's in it as well. Watchmen, director's cut. Not watched it yet. Not watched it. Need to. I know it's very long though, so I'm sure I'll get to that at some point. Whiplash. Oh gosh, Whiplash. One of my favourite films. My favourite kind of lower budget film of probably ever. I love the script. I love J.K. Simmons. I think Miles Teller's brilliant in this film. The ending, I know I'm talking about endings a lot, but the ending of this film, it is the most fist pumping, yes ending to a film ever. I love the ending to Shawshank, but that one gets you in the feels. This one is fist pumping, like, oh my gosh. I've watched the ending, God, how many knows how many times. But the overall film is phenomenal, and I think it's probably the best film of 2014. Birdman is a great film, and it's really well directed and held. But Whiplash is so unique, and it's so kind of homegrown, and I like its kind of simple kind of story. J.K. Simmons is absolutely phenomenal. Man, Whiplash. Oh, I love Whiplash. And then the last film of my collection is a film I watched again recently as well. The Wrestler. The best wrestling film ever made, obviously. Mickey Rourke basically saved his career with this film. It got massive media attention. It got a few Academy Award nods. And, you know, as they say, the raging ball of wrestling films. It's just phenomenal. It's kind of a look behind the curtain at what wrestling life is like. It's brutal, but also very honest. And so many wrestlers came out after the film was released and said, wow, the way that's kind of demonstrated the life of wrestling is very true. A few didn't. I know a few people who didn't like it. I think Jim Cornette was someone who didn't like it. I think Bret Hart really liked it. Mick Foley, big fan of it. Ric Flair, big fan of it. Terrific. Darren Aronofsky also did Black Swan, which is kind of a similar film, which looks at kind of the life of a ballet dancer. And it's basically taking... This film's not really about a guy who's a wrestler. It's basically about how your age can eventually become a limitation on what you want to do. And, man, this film, it just hits that kind of serious note really, really well. Marissa Tomei in this film, who eventually would go on to be May Parker in the Tom Holland Spider-Man. Marissa Tomei is really good. In another situation, their stories basically mirror each other because they are both characters who rely on their bodies and how their age eventually will become a liability on what they want to do. Terrific movie. Again, a really great ending. Tragic ending in some ways, depends on how you look at it. But yeah, Wrestler, great movie. And that is my Blu-ray collection, guys. So if I try and pick these up, put them in a pile. Oh, well, there you go. That's a pile. I've got about 50, something like that. Some great films I talked about here. There's some also films that aren't great, but, you know, you buy what you like, and that's why I bought these Blu-rays. I guess thanks for watching. Guys, this has been Revolver Ocelot. Like, comment, subscribe for more. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think to my Blu-ray collection? Are there any films in here you haven't seen? Tell me what you thought of some of my favourite films. Shawshank Redemption, Good Will Hunting, Whiplash, Iron Giant, Beef Vendetta, Casino Royale. What's your favourite Bond film? What's your favourite comic book film? What is your favourite Peter Jackson film? What is your favourite wrestling film? What is your favourite sports-based film? And I guess thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully we'll be doing some more videos or something soon. Please keep checking my blog, gameanddrawinglockdown.blogspot.co.uk. I am sure to be putting up a very big review soon, a very important series to my heart that I'm currently playing through, and I'm sure I'll be putting some more content on there and on this channel very soon, hopefully. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been Revolver Ocelot.